An amazing moment yesterday on Fox Business. Stuart Varney, a classic for many of these gaffes, went out and said that Jeff Bezos should use the Washington Post to target Bernie Sanders in order to fight back and show some gumption. Let's take a listen.
I just think that maybe Mr. Bezos should do something about the Washington Post, which he owns, lock, stock and barrel, which vigorously supports.
However, as you know, that is separate from Amazon. That is a private investment by Jeff Bezos.
But he's got control of the Washington Post. If he doesn't like Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, make a change in your editorial policy at the Washington Post, for heaven's sake.
So you're saying use the Washington Post to go after Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren if you want more pointed.
Why not? Why is the Washington Post the most outrageous leftist organization in America, with a few other exceptions, and it's owned by Bezos, who's with Bernie Sanders having a go at him?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Take the gloves off.
Utilize all levers.
Get
I see
on
your
with
point.
Pretty amazing. I kind of
love it.
I was going to say, what I enjoy about it is let's all openly acknowledge that Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post and could and may have already, I have no idea whether he has or not, and neither do you, has used his own personal paper in order to push his political agenda. And even if he hasn't, then the mere fact that he owns it is going to cause self-censorship around Jeff Bezos by the people who work there and the people who want to work there, which is everybody else in Washington.
Well, here's a few things that we know. Number one, contrary to Stuart Varney's fantasy about it being an amazing leftist organization, we know how aggressively they went after Bernie Sanders. We also know that, weirdly, they haven't done, when everybody else was running around, like, getting the pictures of the pee bottles, like Ken Klivenstein was, to rebut
where is it?
The Amazon attacks on Twitter against Bernie and Warren and Mark Bocan and Rokana and Marianne Williamson and everybody else. They didn't do that reporting. Interesting. So maybe Stuart Varney is kind of missing some of the more subtle ways in which they're manipulating this conversation. Potentially. We don't know what's going on there. But we do know that when you have a billionaire owner who's incredibly one of the most powerful people on the entire planet, the wealthiest person on the entire planet, and you know who that person is, look, that can subtly affect your coverage.
Of course it can.
And by the way, they're looking for someone for the top job right now. They need someone they need someone in that position. And is Bezos going to have a say in who ultimately ends up getting that top position and deciding what kind of coverage moves forward and who gets hired and fired, all of that? One would expect that he might have a say in who that person ultimately is. But I just love the saying the quiet part out loud here. I mean, he's just admitting what is blatantly obvious to anyone, that, if Bezos wants to exert influence, he 100% can and possibly has already. He just acknowledges it out in the open because it's completely obvious.
Exactly, and that's the part where it is hilarious, generally about what he's thinking. He's like, you should use it to fight back and all that. Who's to say he hasn't? I don't know. Look, the guy has personal political agenda. He just directed, we covered this yesterday, his Amazon CEOs to start shit posting on Twitter. Yeah. I mean, because he was mad that Amazon was going against. And actually, what I said, saw validated in the tech news, which was inside Amazon, the highest executives, they said, look, we got a 91% approval rating. Bezos' bet is not only can I do this, I can do it and I can get away with it. And I think he's probably right, because he has made all of these investments. Largest house in Washington, Salon. I walk past it all the time. The place is huge. There's only 3 houses. They fused into one with all these ballrooms, which every journalist in Washington wants to get invited to. He owns the Washington Post, one of the premier second largest newspaper, most important newspaper in the entire country. He just moved headquarters here to Krystal City. So now he literally controls the home values of half the people who live here. I mean, that's an unfathomable amount of power. And if you are somebody who lives and works in Washington, D.C., you are affected by Amazon and Jeff Bezos, whether you like it or not. And I just hate that they just won't admit it. So in a way, I'm glad Stuart Varney came out and just said the quiet part out loud.
Totally. I really appreciate it when people are just upfront about the way this all works. Remember when Bernie suggested that maybe Bezos owning the Washington Post was influencing their coverage of him? Everyone freaked out like he had just killed a kitten or something. How could you say that? It's so horrific. Your war on journalism, et cetera, et cetera. Look, everybody who has a brain knows how this thing works, and clearly Stuart Varney acknowledging the truth of what is going on there.
100%.
More Rising for you after this.